maybe people will keep coming in, but we can go ahead and start, I think. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Caitie, for joining us today from SAP. We're very excited to have you here. And I know you'll both be touching on the internship program, so this is a great chance students to ask any questions that you might have. So we'll be using the Q&A feature, so make sure if you have anything that comes to mind, just drop that question in, and then at the end of the presentation, Joe and Caitie can get to those questions. So thank you so much. Take it away.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be kicking things off. Thanks again for spending the time with us on a Friday. For some of you, afternoon, if you're calling in from the East Coast. For those of you here on the West Coast, it's almost lunchtime, so we won't take too much of your time because I'm sure you, much like me, do experience severe cases of hanger from time to time. With that said, happy Friday. My name is Joseph Ham-Silvestre, and I'm calling as part of SAP. I'm the Strategy, Experience, and Operations Lead for Silicon Valley Next Talent Program, which is a technical rotational program we have here within SAP. What we'll be doing today is first we wanted to just quickly introduce ourselves, and then from there, get into some meat and potatoes of the not only intern but also full-time opportunities we might have. A bit more about me. I'm originally from San Diego, California, so Southern California. I'm actually calling from there right now because I am enjoying some Southern California sun. Been in the Bay Area. That's where I reside in Oakland for now about 6 months, but I've been in the Bay Area for a little over 11 years now. So do call Bay Area home. Started out my career as a mental health counselor, then quickly moved into recruitment. That's actually how I started at SAP. I was leading our recruitment efforts for our global intern program that I will be talking about. And that is where I met Caitie, who was leading the program aspects of the intern program. She then moved on to do some awesome stuff with our rotational program that she'll talk about. And that's how she then tapped my shoulder to then join her team to support the operations and experience side. So with that, I would love to hand it off to Caitie, who will then introduce herself.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitie Sullivan, as Joe mentioned. I am the program manager for all internal programs across SAP California, which includes our Silicon Valley Next Talent program, our developer kickoff conference, our employee engagement events, and everything in between. As Joe mentioned, I have been running the Silicon Valley Next Talent program for about 2 years now, but before that, I zigzagged my way not only through the Bay Area, but through different industries and roles. I had 7 internships before I landed in SAP, doing everything from website design to government to nonprofit. I did sales for 1 day, and then it was not my thing. And I actually was going to, when I graduated, was going to become an events director on a cruise ship in the Bahamas and live that Instagram life. But my brother was diagnosed with cancer about a month before I graduated. He is fine now, but it really shook my world to make sure I wasn't running away or, kind of not contributing to the community. So I moved back to SF and worked for a nonprofit to help low-income, high-risk kids catch up in reading. Went to grad school for industrial organizational psychology, which is corporate psych. Where I heard about SAP and start my 4.5-year journey with them. Started off as an intern 4.5 years ago, got recruited to run the intern program, which is where Joe came in, then went on to SVNT and now program manager for all of California. So that's a little bit about me. I'm extremely excited to get to know all of you and talk more about different ways to come into SAP. Because my dream is to be the Oprah of giving jobs. And so I hope that we can make it work here.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitie, for the intro. So as I mentioned before, what we have lined up today is really just a quick chat about what is SAP anyway. Some of you, it's probably your first time getting to know who we are. And then from in recent grad opportunities, as I mentioned before, Caitie will go over quickly the application process that that happens to a lot of our young talent as they're coming into SAP. And really a large chunk of it we want to have as an Ask Me Anything session. I mean, as we mentioned before in our intros, we both have different sets of experiences. We both have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to recruitment. And so if there are any questions that are lingering for you at the end of this presentation, you'll be able to then have a chance to ask them. Of course, throughout the presentation, feel free to ask any questions to the panel. We'd be more than happy to answer any. Either one of us will prompt the other to pause and then answer any questions that might come up. All right? But to get things started, SAP, first and foremost, we help the world run better and we improve people's lives. We are a business-to-business software solutions company that focuses on providing enterprise software and also enterprise tools in both the on-prem and also cloud spaces for various industries and various companies out there so that they can continue to provide the utmost experiences and also the utmost newest gadgets and products for you all to consume day in and day out. One thing that we do want to let you know is that SAP is an acronym. It is Systems, Applications, and Products and Data Processing. It is not SAP. We are not the thing, we're not built off of the thing that grows on trees. So case in point, big takeaway is whenever you're talking about our company, it is SAP. It's actually a lot of our current colleagues' pet peeves when people are interviewing and saying, oh, I really want to work for SAP. So if anything, you'll learn that if you do get interviewed with us, you're saying SAP. Give you a quick history lesson of us. We started in 1972, so we are nearing our 50-year anniversary of us starting, right? A team of 5 friends decided to break up with IBM and decided to really focus on enterprise space and specifically enterprise software. At that time, business wasn't being done effectively, and so they found that through their work at IBM, they had their own ideas on how they can help businesses run a little more smoothly. I believe their first tackle was actually clock in and clock out. So you know the stamps that people used to run those little holes. They were able to then create an automated process so that businesses wouldn't have to then lean on their employees to then clock in and clock out. So that's really how we got started. To give you some high-level overview of who we are as SAP as a global entity, we have over 101,000 employees globally and 150 plus nationalities worldwide that are being represented by SAP, which is great to hear that we are located across the world. We do have over 440,000 customers, and we'll get into details of what types of industries and what type of customers we work with day in and day out. But year to date, what's been fun, and we'll highlight this a little bit more detail, is that in this last year alone, in 2019, we won a little under 300. My personal goal was to reach those 300, but we reached 297 employer awards last year. And I'll give you some details as to what types of awards we've won in the past. What's also interesting for us is that we have a large presence here in the US. We have over 15,000 employees in SAP USA, but we're actually headquartered in Waldorf, Germany. So that's also an interesting thing to think about in the tech space. A lot of our tech titans out there are located in the US and headquartered in the US. We're one of the ones that aren't located here. We actually are headquartered in Waldorf, which you'll come naturally to see how we run business a little differently, knowing that we are based upon European values and also European work ethics. So it'll be interesting to see that if any of you do get hired into our organization. I know Caitie and I see it from time to time. For those of you who are interested in the types of industry that we've practiced in, or at least the type of tech spaces, these are some of the ones that we are leading, or we are leaders in the space, right? So when you think about enterprise resource planning, that's really where we started, right? Making sure that we're building those products and that software so that companies can continue to move momentum forward. We have digital commerce, right? So when we're thinking about how can we procure it, how can we get items to customers more quickly? How can we make sure that individuals who are supplying these things can get into the commerce space in a digital manner so that they can quickly, improve their own lives. Human capital management is super big right now, right? How can we make sure that we're measuring the experience of our employees or the members of our organization? How can we make sure that we're effectively driving change in their development? How do we measure goals and performance management? We have things like supply chain management, Manufacturing, of course, we're also a leader in. Procurement, like I spoke about before, and of course, financial, right? So we want to make sure that finances are driven smoothly to make sure we're making those pivotal changes for our businesses. Some other leading areas that we're not first in, but I'm sure we're working well into getting that leadership spot, includes our analytics. So making sure that we're creating those dashboards that are customizable and also effective for our businesses to drive change. CRM space, of course, and also sales. So this is, of course, a lot of different types of industries that we really like to compete in, and these are some of the ones that we're leading in. Of course, we can't do this by ourselves. So we have trusted partners that we work with day in and day out, right? So we work with a network of cloud partners in order to maximize our own efforts, and also to make sure that our customers have the freedom of choice to hyperscale their businesses. So some of the ones that we currently work for include these lists here. So we have Microsoft, AWS, Alibaba, and also Google Cloud. For those of you who are interested in the hyperscale space, wanted to give you some examples. For those of you who are like me, you like to see also what are the tangible aspects and how we make change. I love to have this slide up, and it actually comes from Caitie. But every 60 seconds, right, SAP customers on the software that we provide every day globally will produce all of these aspects. So 3,800 grams of gold, over 282,000 liters of beer, which is our favorite because we're German based, right? 54,000 barrels of oil, over 17,000 liters of ice cream, 2,800 pairs of athletic shoes, and over 12,000 kilograms of chocolate. And that includes, especially now that we're in October for Halloween season, that includes Reese's, Mars Bar, Hershey's. A lot of these large scale chocolate folks run on SAP software. So thank you, SAP, from personal note for being able to, for me to indulge in my never ending frozen Reese's that are in my freezer. But in the 60 seconds we then took to read this slide itself, SAP customers were able to produce all of these and even more products. Our customers were able to build these products out for you all, including myself, to consume. For those of you who want some direct examples of what are some current and past customers we've worked with in the different types of industries, this is a snapshot of the types of industry and also partners we've worked with, right? So you can think about the bottom left, or the bottom right, I'm sorry. We have public services. So we work with government entities, countries themselves, right? So we have NASA, we have Swiss Bank, right? We have the United States Postal Service. These are all customers of ours in the public service sector. On the top left, we even have our consumer industries, right? It's so interesting to think that all businesses need software in order to run effectively, regardless of whether or not they're competitors, right? So you can see that both Pepsi and Coca-Cola are either current or past customers of ours. Of course, we have the opportunity to look under the hood and see how their businesses run, but it's not like we're gonna be then sharing that intellectual property to the competitors. But what's really neat about SAP is that we get a chance to see how even competitors within a space run business a little differently than one another. And so it's been great to see that even in our own sense, when we do have these customers come to visit SAP and then provide, examples of how we've been able to then effectively drive change within their organizations based on the products and the software we're building for them. So we just wanted to give you a snapshot of some of those things here. But of course, it starts with you all, right? Those of you who join the organization, like Caitie and myself, bringing all of our talents to SAP. We're recognized as a place with a strong forward-looking culture that attracts minds from all over the world. As we mentioned before, we have over 150 nationalities represented. And with that, we want to make sure that you're bringing everything you are in the hopes that you're becoming everything you want, okay? To metrically show that, we have a 93% employee retention. Both Caitie and myself told our managers that you have to throw us out a window if you want to get rid of us. And the reason why is because it supported not only our personal development in challenging us to think of new ways in which we can boost employee engagement within our respective teams, but more importantly, allowed us to then maximize our professional development with a wide range of things. These can be fellowships, these can be social sabbaticals, these can be being part of programs, employee resource groups, or professional development, groups where you can then build a sense of community outside of your immediate team. Another awesome metric is that 34% are women-identified workforce. Actually, we're even trying to drive that change even more and build that momentum. For example, our Silicon Valley Next Talent program actually has 50% female-identified folks in the program itself. I want to make sure that not only from a macro perspective, that 34% across SAP, but also how can we drive that change within our individual funnel streams and the efforts that we're making. As I mentioned before, we won over 297, well, not over 297, exactly 297 employer awards. Some of the examples that we did this last year include winning the #1 internship program in the US, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We're Glassdoor's top employer in 22 countries. We're a top 1,000 company worldwide for millennial women, and we're also part of Reuters' top 100 global tech leaders. I know just in the immediacy of kind of the social pressures and also social upticks that have been happening globally in regards to social justice, racial justice, and also COVID-19, SAP has also stepped up their game in those critical conversations around social justice and also making sure that we're providing an equitable work environment, regardless of where you're at or where you come from. So what we'll be doing is we'll be sharing this deck with you all, and all of these are hyperlinked so that you can have a chance to get to learn a little bit more about how we're then moving the needle forward and also even influencing our employees and also our customer bases to also drive that change. Okay. So now that we've told you a little bit more about SAP and what we do, when you're thinking about, some of you are probably excited, hopefully, to join our cause and also join our organization in some way. Thinking about joining SAP, there are 3 tracks in which you can immediately come into SAP, right? So one is, of course, internships, and I'll get into details of our structured intern program we have in the US. We then have our graduate programs, which Caitie will then get into, one of the ones here, especially since as perhaps a technical discipline, we'll be able to talk about SCNT. And then, of course, the last one is for you to just apply to any associate position that's available out there. We've come to find historically that our young talent tend to succeed and also get a place within SAP in trying the first 2 columns, which are internships and grad programs. And that's why we wanted to take the time to talk about those now. So first, I'll be talking about SAP's internship experience program. So IXP is a global intern program that focuses on 6 countries and 18 cities, serving 1,000 interns every year. Here's a list of all of the countries and also all of the cities that we're currently located in. We actually just expanded our efforts to a few more locations in Canada and also in Czech Republic. And we'll also be opening up to a new country. So stay tuned in the next few weeks for them to make their announcements. But we're always constantly expanding this program. And the reason why we want to expand it is really based on the structure and the model that we were able to build out. We like to call it our best-in-class experience, the 70-20-10 model. Now, for the US, our internships happen in the summer. So they happen typically from July to August for 10 to 12 weeks. During those 10 to 12 weeks that you're with us, this is what the structure of your intern program and experience will look like. So 70% of your time while you're in the program is focused on the job learning. So you're working on specific projects with specific teams on specific problems they're trying to they're trying to succeed in. You will be able to then come in, you'll have a project ready for you, you'll be able to get the guidance, the wisdom, and the knowledge from the team, as well as for you to bring in new critical ideas and innovations to then drive that project to completion. So that's 70% of the job, driving real business impact, high visibility, and also you have a cross-functional component. Typically, you're not siloed in these roles because you'll be working as part of a multidisciplinary team. The other 30% on the left side of this pie chart is where the internship experience program team comes in. So similar to Caitie and myself, the IXP team also has an experience program and operations team that focuses on all of these experiences that you all get to participate in while you're in the program. 20% of it is formal development. So they have Internship Experience Day, which is an all-day event, which is a crash course to all things SAP. You get to learn about the products, you get to learn about the technologies, you get to meet some executives and leaders across SAP as they welcome you and also as they give you challenges of what to think about for what the future of SAP looks like. There are virtual learning curriculums. We like to call them Power Hour Learning Bursts, which are in-person and virtual. Of course, right now with sheltering in place, all things are virtual in our intern program, but those are opportunities for you to speak to subject matter experts across the larger SAP ecosystem. They also have done in the past innovation challenges and even intern project showcases, which are important for you all because at the end of the summer, you get to present and showcase the projects you worked on to not only your immediate team, but to the rest of the office, sometimes even to the region. So these folks will come in, they'll learn of your project, helps you in high visibility and also high networking should you also be interested in future internship or even full-time opportunities. Gives you a chance to then showcase some of those skills that you were able to then flex during the summer. And of course, the last 10% is social acculturation. Not only do we want you to work hard, but we want you to also have a good time over the summer. Some things we've done in the past is partnerships with our CS to make sure you're driving CSR that's built out by our interns. Social networking activities that have all been virtual. So I know Caitie and I sat in one where we were leaders sitting down with interns, getting a chance to meet them. It was almost like a, every speed dating, which was a lot of fun. They also have project onboarding that's virtual that allows you to then get a deeper knowledge and have a deep dive of the products that we have. So we really want to make sure that you're getting a chance to have some fun with your fellow cohort members. So that's a little bit about the intern program. We're going to talk about application process and deadlines in a little bit, but for those of you who are maybe not interested in an internship, but now you're reaching graduation, you're interested in full-time, going to hand it off to Caitie so that she can talk about Silicon Valley Next Town.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. And thank you everyone for your engagement and thoughts into the program. So Silicon Valley Next Talent, which I'll refer to as SVNT, is a best-in-class technical rotation program that attracts, develops, and retains the top talent to be the driving force of SAP strategy. And so what the experience and the operation parts of it is that it's an 18-month rotational program in which we hire up to 90 developers, designers, and data scientists as full-time employees. So those of you who just graduate college or those of you who are graduating your boot camps, we are actively hiring people who just graduated and have less than a year and a half of experience. You come in under me as a manager and Joe as your mentor, and you go through 2 weeks of onboarding that really is very similar to IXP, gear you up and ramp you up for SAP. So everything regarding our products, our technology, our design practices, storytelling, executive presence, everything that we think you need to have to hit the ground running. You do this all cohort style. So we hire every winter, summer, and fall. So you come in with 20 best friends who are all going through the same process as you. Some of them even live together in a post/pre-COVID world. But you are part of a 90-person program. So because it's 18 months, we have 4 to 5 cohorts going through and are live in the program at any given point. So you have 20 people in your cohort, but you're part of a 90-person program that you can that is going through trainings and meet and eats and all these things with you. But we've also have over 100 people that have gone through the program and are still in SAP. So you instantly, by going through this program, have over 150, almost 200 people that are all of equal standing or just a few years before you, but have gone through the exact same steps that you are going through, which is an unlimited resource for you to reach out to for guidance, for if you're stuck on a design, if you want to bounce something off of someone, or you're stuck on a code. When you are done with those 2 weeks of onboarding and meeting everyone in the program, you then are mutually matched to a rotation team to then work in their team for 6 months. That is the duration of the rotation, and you work on highly impactful and project-based work. You do rotate. You have the opportunity to rotate across 5 locations in the West Coast. So 3 of them are up here in the Bay Area: San Ramon, San Francisco, and Palo Alto. And you can virtually rotate into Newport Beach, where you still are up here. You don't have to move to Newport Beach in a post-COVID world, but you get to fly down there again post-COVID to meet the team, have a midpoint, and have an endpoint. Again, you also get 3 layers of mentorship throughout the program. So you have Joe and I meet with each SVNT on a monthly basis to provide performance reviews and mentorship on how to navigate working life and professional environments. The rotation team also provides a mentor and a buddy to help guide you on your day-to-day, your project, the technical skills, the team dynamics. And then we also pair you with an SVNT alum mentor, someone who's gone through the program but is still in SAP, to help you guide you on your discipline or how to navigate the program in SAP in general. Similar to IXP, we also have social acculturation, which are right now virtual happy hours and meet and eats. In person, we sometimes go to sports games. We sometimes do activities together. And then we also have monthly trainings, one being our fireside chats with our executives, like our chief innovation officer or the head of product for SuccessFactors or the engineering lead for Ariba. For all of our SVNTers to bridge that gap with our executives, understand the strategy as well as the technical obstacles and what they should be thinking about as they're rotating in these teams. We also offer trainings that support you as a human. We call them topic talks. So everything from how to leverage your benefits, investing 101, overcoming imposter syndrome, or how to really enhance the mentorship relationship. All of these are so that way you can really future-proof and launch your career in or outside of SAP. The 18 months is giving you the technical experience, the professional experience, as well as the working life experience of how do I leverage all of these offerings and navigate these new situations. And really the impact of that is that you become the best versatile tech talent. If you are in a design program, you're like, I don't know if I want UI framework versus UX research versus product design, you can try each of those in a rotation and find your niche. You can try our travel product versus our e-commerce product versus our supply chain product and see what technology stacks, what team dynamics, and what type of product and industry you're really interested in. And you take that information from all across SAP into the team that you finally match with to then have them hire you or transfer you into their team and bring that industry knowledge, that across SAP knowledge, to really make an impact in the team. And so now that you know about these two fabulous programs, you're probably wondering, well, how do I apply? How do I get into it? And so the application process, the first step, because of data protection, is that you have to apply to the role. We can't accept resumes or LinkedIn referrals or anything like that. You have to apply to the role. For SVNT specifically, we have the role live right now, which we'll share the link in a second. So if you are graduating boot camp or college in 2021, apply now. We already filled our January cohort, but we are recruiting for our June and September 2021 and our January 2022 cohorts now. IXP will be, and again, I always do this slide before, but IXP will be recruiting later on in the year for the summer of 2021 soon. Once you apply, then you will go through a recruiter review, which may be a quick phone screen, or you'll be sent a technical online assessment for you to take dependent on your discipline. So for designers, that would be, what is waterfall design? Or why would you approach a design this way? How would you describe or defend your answers, your designs? For data science, it would be about data and SQL. And for development, it would be back end versus front end. If you pass this round, then you will be invited to behavioral interviews, which is quick 30-minute sessions about how you would approach certain situations. If you pass that round, then you will be invited to a technical interview, which usually are 60-minute online virtual interviews. For designers, it's usually a portfolio review walking you through why and how did you think about the end user and why did you choose these designs. Data science is usually playing with data and visualizing it, and development, it is usually being given code or being asked to write code in to fix a bug or to create a mini feature. You may also get an additional phone screen after that tech interview just to check, why are you interested in SAP and the program that you're applying to, as well as for the leadership team to answer any questions you may have about the program and the company. After this process, you then can receive a formal offer. The fastest I've seen someone go through this is 2.5 weeks. They got it, they applied that night, they took the technical assessment the next day, they were available for a behavioral interview 2 days later. After 4 days of evaluation, after a 4-day weekend and planning, then they took the virtual tech assessment. They were available for a selection committee in 2 days, and then we sent them an offer 2 days later. So it really, the process that it takes, I've also seen someone take 3.5 months to go through this process because it took them 2 weeks, 3 weeks to take the technical assessment. Then they said that they couldn't take the behavioral for another 2 weeks. And then they waited 2 more weeks to take the technical interview, and then 2 more weeks to take the selection. And then they couldn't get on the phone for the verbal offer for another week. So again, it really depends on how reactive, how fast you answer the emails, your schedule, and the schedule of our interviewers. So really being on the lookout for those emails, and if you want it to go faster, then schedule the interview sooner. We will try our best to match. Now, Joe, did I miss anything in the application process? Perfect. Then in terms of the timing, so I kind of give you a sneak peek, but for a virtual visual, in terms of the internship experience project, like Joe mentioned, for the US, it is a summer program. So you will be interning between June and August, around 10 weeks. When those internships are individually posted, so you may see up to 1,000 different internships posted across the US. They get posted between January and May. So they hire about 5 to 6 months before you start. I would suggest putting on alerts on the IXP website so that way you're notified when a relevant internship is posted, because they hire on an ongoing basis. If you don't look at it for 2 months, then you may have missed 10 design roles or 5 development roles, way more than that. But so always be on top of applying and making sure you're applying to the roles that you're actually interested in and qualified for. Please don't apply to all 1,000. You will annoy the recruiters. For the Silicon Valley Next Talent program, we have one position open. So we hire developers, designers, and data scientists all go through the same process through one position. So you only have to apply once, and then you get routed to the right assessment. We hire up to about 9 months before the start date. So like I said, we are rolling out offers now for June, September, and even up to a year in advance. We could roll out offers for January 2022 as early as next month. So definitely apply. We release our positions based on graduation date. So the one that is live right now is for people who graduate in 2021. So if you're ending the boot camp in 2021 or getting your degree, then you apply for that role. If you're not graduating or ending the boot camp until 2022, then there is an option for you to sign up for the talent community, so that way you can be alerted when the 2022 application is released. Yes, we do hire it looks like they're already answered. But in terms of who is eligible, again, the internship experience project is mainly for people who are still in school or currently going their education career. And Silicon Valley Next Talent is for people who are done and able for full time. Both opportunities are eligible for people on visas or OPT. Only Silicon Valley Next Talent has the opportunity to offer sponsorship, because that is for full-time employees. Okay, and so now you're like, perfect, I know the process, I know the programs, I'm ready to get started. Well, now if you have an iPhone, you can pick it up and click on the QR code to start your application. So again, for the SVNT program, that is the top left, that is to apply to the SVNT program. Again, eligible for people who are in development design and data science who are graduating in 2021. If you are currently in school and you are interested in the internship program, that is that middle QR code. If you don't meet the criteria for either one, completely fine. We hire over 500 people outside of these programs anyway. And so all other recent graduate full-time roles can be found on the QR code to the right. If you do not have an iPhone or you're like, hey, I want to go on my desktop, just go to sap.com/careers. All of these are in there under recent graduates, or you can just Google search SAP SVNT or SAP IXP. If you want to see what life is like, we constantly post on Instagram and social media. You can look for our handles Life at SAP and SAP IXP. And we post there when we're launching roles, when we're having parties and other different programs. So if you want to see what our life is like, please feel free to follow those handles. Perfect. All right. So that's the end of our presentation. Hopefully, we are able to proactively answer any questions and get you excited about joining SAP. I see that there was 3 questions in the Q&A. It looks like they all got answered, but please, for everyone else, feel free, unmute yourself, write in the chat, and ask your questions. I just saw the chat that there was background scratching sound, so hopefully that stopped. I'm sorry if that was really annoying.
It did.
Okay, good. I think that was just my dog in the background scratching. So sorry about that. But does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, I do see one come up that said, hi, Joe and Caitie, thank you so much for sharing. I graduated in May and 2020 and really excited to apply to 2020 SVNT after the career fair, but I couldn't apply due to the pandemic. I was wondering if there is any plan for opening positions to recent grads or entry level for 2020.
Yes, so for SVNT specifically, we have the position opened. It is for 2021 because we filled all of our 2020 grad cohorts in our January 2021 cohort. So again, like I said, the eligibility for SVNTs, you have to be within 6 months of graduation by the start date. So if you're graduating 2021, you are eligible for the cohorts that we still have open. If you graduate before, there are other positions open. I know that, for example, Newport Beach is hiring external designers and developers like crazy right now. So definitely go into sap.com/careers for all entry level and grads. Ooh, I like this question, Dylan. Why did I work at SAP instead of Oracle? All right. So I said my life spiel in the beginning. One of my best friends from college that I'm still friends with, he used to work at Oracle and he left after 6 months. And so we constantly talk about why, because he went to Facebook and he's constantly trying to get me to go with him. And the reason why I think I love SAP is because when I was here are my top 3, is because they support you as a human as much as they support you in your career. I am actually friends with my coworkers. Joe and I hang out on the weekend. I traveled to India for someone's wedding, one of my coworkers' weddings. I look forward to happy hours. In Oracle, and what I've heard in Google and Facebook from my friends is that sometimes it is competitive. You have to stay in your lane. People don't really want to share secrets or what they're working on, and because it feels territorial. That is not the case in SAP. Everyone is so willing to help, so willing to guide and mentor, that it feels like a family. And on the flip side, it also feels like they support you in your career. You don't have, just because I started off in HR, but I was encouraged and supported and sent to a lot of courses to learn about virtual reality because that's what I'm passionate about. And now that's part of my job. I travel to, post-COVID, to conferences and recruiting events with VR headsets to demo SAP technology. Has really nothing to do with my job. I somehow connected it, but SAP enhanced really supported my exploration and said, yeah, if this is what you're passionate about, go. And the last part is 4.5 years ago, I started off as an intern, and now I manage 95 people and I'm an intern program manager for California. And so in every aspect, as a human, you know, from my passion and from my career journey, SAP has allowed exploration, support, and recognition. And I just don't really hear that from Oracle or from other companies. Joe, anything to add?
I think from my perspective, being able to work for an organization that's not headquartered in the United States has allowed me to just glimpse how businesses run from, we like to call mothership in European settings. And the fact that there's been a level of progression when it comes to the type of work environments we're establishing, I really enjoyed that I haven't seen in my time in working for maybe corporations that are headquartered in the US, right? And that's just because naturally they have to abide by the legal and policy that's given by US, and the fact that, you know, you're able to then observe how businesses run and the policy from a UN perspective, and specifically the European Union perspective, has been also cool to see. The fact that we just naturally align to a lot of the UN sustainability goals when it comes to not only how we're driving our own goals and objectives, but also similarly how we've been able to then tag team to some of these social goals that these large maybe NGOs, or if not these large organizations, are also trying to achieve. That's been probably one of the reasons why, maybe to your question, I'm not answering it fully, that, why do I prefer SAP over Oracle, but more so why I prefer SAP over other maybe tech spaces that aren't headquartered outside of the US.
Perfect. I think we answered that. For the other questions, does SVNT offer visa sponsorships to begin and go through the program? Once you are hired in, SAP in general has a sponsorship program for visas. And if you're in SVNT, then yes, we do sponsor your visa. Do you all use ATS system to pass the resume? I have a little bit of a struggle when I applied to a big company due to the ATS program. Do you have any tips for ATS? So I'll talk about SVNT really quick, and then Joe maybe can dive deeper into general tips for ATS. For SVNT, we look at your resume as step like 3 or 4. What that means is that we give every single applicant the technical assessment, because we have found that resumes can be a barrier for some people. So as long as you pass the technical assessment, then you go into the interview. So at least for SVNT, that is a way that we overcome the resume barrier. Not all companies are doing this, and not all teams in SAP are doing this. So Joe, do you have general tips and tricks for passing the ATS system when it comes to resumes?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones that, at least when I was a recruiter here at SAP, that we try to identify is making sure that candidates are able to then highlight maybe some of the skill sets, or if not some of the action verbs that are located in job descriptions, embedding them then into your resume, right? So if you see that there is a job description out there that is looking for someone who is pioneering something, or who had a specific skill set that they were using day in and day out, maybe SQL, or maybe that they were really focused on pandas, or maybe that they were able to overhaul Figma and have it be adopted across their design team. You want to make sure that you're then identifying moments in your resume where you were able to do just that, right? Like oftentimes ATS, people tend to only associate that thing to be moving up in the search query, but really making sure that maybe you're identifying this or after that skill word is what's also important, right? Because if you were just taking Figma in a course, that might be different than me, who's looking for someone who was able to then maybe train a team on Figma, and you're trying to then move into utilizing that collaborative platform, right? So making sure that you're then looking at the whole sentence and maybe identifying a few words outside of just a skill set, and not just trying to embed all of the skill sets that they're looking for in the job description, because that really only skims the surface. Really being able to take a deeper dive will be beneficial to you. So that's probably the one takeaway.
Perfect. And then the last question that I see up here, the last question I see up here is what roles for designers and artists for this company? So for SVNT and IXP, we open it up for general design. However, we are looking for graphic designer, or not graphic/visual designers. Sometimes we're looking for animation specific designers, I would say that the majority is product design, UI, and UX. However, there are niche roles for those. SVNT tries to have, out of the 20% of designers that we have, we try to have an equal representation of UX versus product design versus graphic design and UI. So that way we have a good mix. Same thing with IXP, that is really dependent on the manager and the team. And that dependence also extends into professional roles. They will specifically say we're looking for a product designer or a graphic designer or a visual designer. In general, they usually use like visual designer or to like encompass graphic, illustration, and animation.
Another question we have was wanted to know if SVNTers get a chance to do projects with an IO. Yes, they do. Our SVNT program specifically has rotations that will focus on key disciplines and also key.
Oh, Joe, you might have frozen. Can someone write on the chat if they're frozen, if he's frozen for you as well? Okay, so he is frozen. And so I'll keep talking. Yes, SAP or SVNT has projects and rotations in IO. Specifically, we have design, development, and data science actually in the different ventures and startups in SAP.io. So it is definitely a possibility. IO is also hiring, if you have maybe 2 or 3 years of experience, they're also looking for some senior designers and data scientists. Again, all of those roles are going to be posted on sap.com/careers. So you'll have multiple chances for going into IO. And Joe is back. Hello, Joe.
I apologize. My internet has been a little wonky, but glad to be back. And I'm assuming.
Oh no, you froze again. So I'll just take over the questions. Yes, I did answer them. Anyone else with questions or comments, feedback? Okay, then I'm going to assume that we have answered all of the possible questions that you could have. And now you are just so excited to go in and apply. So it's actually a good thing we're ending 10 minutes early because you can take that 10 minutes and go apply to SVNT right now. Since the link is live, and if you meet our eligibility, again, you're graduating in 2021 and you have less than a year and a half of experience, I'm putting in the chat right now where you can go to apply and learn more about the program or sign up for alerts if you're ending in 2022. Oh, we did get one more question. With SAP having offices all around the world, does the company give opportunities to employees to rotate through different locations? So SVNT currently is in just the US because of work authorization. There are other rotation programs if you are, in information tech, if you are in an MBA program, those type of things that do rotations in Europe. However, in SVNT, we do sometimes in a post-COVID world offer trainings where we fly everyone to our headquarters in Germany. So there is opportunities to collaborate or go and visit or do a training internationally. However, for SVNT, we don't have rotations internationally because of work authorization issues.
And with that, I don't see other questions on chat or on Q&A.
Neither do I. But I did put in the link if you want to go and apply or learn more about SVNT. But with that, I think we are all done with the questions and feedback.
Thank you both so much. Joe and Caitie, you did a great job presenting. It was very clear. And students, if you have any questions, you can definitely email careers@Art Center, and we can try and find out from Caitie or Joe if you have any questions. We'll get those answered. But thank you both so much, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great
Take
weekend.
care.
Bye.
See ya.